Did you know that over 235,000 Canadians are currently homeless and rent prices have jumped by 30% in just 5 years? How did Canada, once seen as an affordable and welcoming place, become so hard to live in? In this video, we'll explore the growing issue of poverty, the housing crisis, and what these challenges mean for those chasing a better life. Stick with us as we uncover the reasons behind Canada's struggles and look at possible solutions that could change things for millions of people. Once upon a time, Canada symbolized hope and opportunity, particularly in the 1970s and 1980s, when the government actively supported housing affordability. Public housing programs and mortgage subsidies made home ownership achievable for average families, allowing cities like Vancouver and Toronto to flourish. But this balance started to crumble in the 1990s when federal funding for affordable housing was cut, shifting the burden to provincial governments. Fast forward to today and the numbers are staggering. As recorded by Top Move, the average home price in Vancouver exceeds $1.1 million and rental costs have skyrocketed. In cities like Toronto, renting a one-bedroom apartment costs upwards of $2,300 a month. Families earning $45,000 annually find themselves allocating more than half their income to housing, far above the recommended 30%. What's driving this? A combination of rapid urbanization, restrictive zoning laws, and delays in construction. Foreign investors purchasing properties as financial assets have only worsened the problem. In Vancouver alone, foreign buyers account for over 10% of transactions, pricing out many local residents. Efforts to address these issues, such as foreign buyer taxes and first-time homeowner incentives, have proven insufficient. While they temporarily slowed speculative investments, loopholes and inconsistent enforcement have allowed prices to soar again. The housing affordability crisis is no longer just a financial issue, it's reshaping the very fabric of Canadian society. Canada's immigration policies have always been a point of pride, showcasing the nation as a cultural mosaic. Between 2021 and 2024, over 1.5 million new immigrants arrived, filling critical workforce gaps and enriching the nation culturally. But this rapid population growth has placed immense pressure on an already strained housing market. Most new immigrants settle in urban hubs like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, where housing supply is limited. Construction delays, skyrocketing material costs, and outdated zoning laws create bottlenecks, leaving demand far outpacing supply. This imbalance drives home prices and rents higher, making it difficult for immigrants and longtime residents alike to find affordable housing. Public services are also under strain. CTV News stated that in Toronto, residents face a 6-month wait to see a family doctor, while schools and public transport systems are overwhelmed. Policies such as economic immigration programs aim to balance workforce needs and housing demands. But critics argue these measures don't go far enough. For example, international students, valued for their tuition revenue, often find themselves struggling to secure housing in competitive rental markets. As cities continue to grow without adequate infrastructure, the tension between immigration and housing intensifies. Without bold and systemic reforms, this cycle will only worsen, leaving millions without stable housing or access to basic services. Canada, known for its wealth and resources, now faces a troubling reality. 1 in 4 Canadians may be living in poverty. Families are struggling to afford basic necessities as stagnant wages, rising inflation, and job insecurity become the norm. In line with Canadian statistics, low-paying, temporary, or part-time jobs trap many workers in financial hardship. Even full-time workers earning minimum wage, ranging from $12 to $16 an hour, depending on the province, cannot cover living expenses in cities like Vancouver or Toronto. Meanwhile, inflation has outpaced wage growth, eroding purchasing power. For many, essential expenses now consume most of their income, leaving little for savings or emergencies. Healthcare, though universal, presents challenges for low-income families. Out-of-pocket costs for mental health services and prescription medications force 1 in 5 Canadians to forego necessary care. Additionally, education, a pathway out of poverty, is often inaccessible due to high tuition fees, perpetuating cycles of economic hardship. The consequences ripple through society. Low-income individuals face higher rates of chronic illness and shorter life expectations. Children from impoverished families have limited educational opportunities, further entrenching inequality. Grassroots movements and nonprofit organizations like Habitat for Humanity provide critical support, but systemic gaps remain. Poverty is not just a financial issue, it affects every aspect of life, from health to education to community stability. Addressing it requires more than temporary fixes, it demands long-term systemic change. Homelessness in Canada has reached unprecedented levels. Over 235,000 Canadians experience homelessness annually, with 35,000 sleeping on the streets or in shelters every night. The crisis is most visible in urban centers like Vancouver, where homelessness has risen by 32% since 2020, but it affects communities nationwide. As noted by the Canadian government, certain groups are disproportionately affected. Indigenous peoples make up 25% of the homeless population, despite representing only 5% of the Canadian population. Youth aged 16 to 24 account for 20% of those without stable housing, and seniors on fixed incomes are increasingly vulnerable as costs outstrip their resources. The economic toll is immense, costing taxpayers an estimated $7 billion annually. Personal stories reveal the human impact. A former factory worker in Toronto, now living in a shelter, shares his struggle to rebuild his life. He says, "It's tough, but I won't give up." There is hope, though. Edmonton's Housing First program has provided stable housing to over 9,000 individuals since 2009, proving that homelessness is a solvable problem. Vancouver's tiny home villages offer rapid, cost-effective shelter solutions. These initiatives demonstrate that with the right strategies, we can address homelessness and restore dignity to those affected. Mental health and homelessness are closely linked in Canada. From the viewpoint of CIHI, up to 60% of individuals experiencing homelessness also live with mental health conditions or substance use disorders. Poverty exacerbates these challenges, creating a vicious cycle that is difficult to break. Access to mental health care is limited, especially for low-income Canadians. A 2023 report revealed that 34% of those with mental health conditions avoided treatment because they couldn't afford it. While Canada's healthcare system covers many services, mental health support remains underfunded, representing only 7% of the healthcare budget, well below countries like Germany and the UK. Innovative programs offer hope. Platforms like Wellness Together Canada provide free online counseling and crisis support, while initiatives like in Sweden combine housing with mental health services, addressing both issues simultaneously. These models highlight the need for comprehensive care systems that support mental and physical well-being. Personal stories emphasize the importance of these efforts. Emily, a 32-year-old mother from Toronto, struggled with depression and addiction after losing her job. Unable to afford therapy, she relied on a community support group that helped her rebuild her life. Stories like Emily's show that with the right resources, recovery is possible. If you're finding this discussion eye-opening, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support allows us to bring more in-depth content like this, and we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to stick around for the bonus information we promised. It's coming up soon. The rental market in Canada has become a pressure cooker, boiling over with unrelenting costs. In Vancouver, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment has surged to $2,600 per month, while Toronto isn't far behind at $2,300. This isn't just a housing issue, it's a crisis. For many Canadians, housing expenses now consume over half of their monthly income, leaving little for other essentials like food, transportation, and healthcare. The cost of home ownership tells an equally grim story. By 2023, the average home price in Canada neared $700,000, a 19% increase compared to the previous year. Rising interest rates have made mortgages unaffordable for many, forcing many to compete for rental properties in an already overcrowded market. Families often find themselves relocating far from urban centers, enduring long commutes to work and limited access to quality schools and services. Efforts to curb the crisis include rent control policies in provinces like Ontario and British Columbia, which cap the annual increase in rents. While these policies provide temporary relief for tenants, they discourage developers from building new rental properties, leading to a supply shortage. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation has predicted a 10 to 15% rise in rental prices in major cities by 2025 unless significant changes are made. According to Hoyes Michalos, innovative housing options like modular homes and co-living spaces are beginning to gain traction. These alternatives are cost-effective, quicker to build, and ideal for urban living. Yet their adoption remains slow due to bureaucratic hurdles and limited government support. Without bold action, the cycle of skyrocketing rents and financial instability will continue to spiral out of control, leaving millions vulnerable. Canada's wealth gap is widening, and it's reshaping the nation's landscape. The richest 1% control nearly 26% of the country's wealth, while the bottom half holds less than 5%. This economic imbalance isn't just an abstract statistic, it's an invisible hand pushing millions of Canadians further into hardship. The housing market has become one of the most visible battlegrounds of inequality. In cities like Toronto and Vancouver, the ultra-wealthy treat real estate as a safe investment, inflating property values and driving out middle and lower-income families. Working-class neighborhoods have transformed into exclusive enclaves for the rich, displacing longtime residents and dismantling community ties. Data from Canada Statistics shows that this disparity isn't just limited to housing, it's also evident in employment opportunities, access to education, and healthcare quality. For instance, families in the lower income bracket struggle to secure stable jobs or afford higher education, perpetuating a cycle of economic disadvantage. Stories of young professionals leaving Canada for more affordable opportunities abroad are becoming more common. A Toronto-based software engineer shared, "Even though I've been working for years, I feel like I'm running in place. Housing and living expenses are impossible to manage. I'm considering moving to Europe, where life might be less stressful." Grassroots organizations and advocacy groups are stepping up where policies fall short. Habitat for Humanity Canada is building affordable housing, while campaigns like Raise the Rates push for higher minimum wages and better tenant protections. While these efforts offer glimmers of hope, addressing wealth inequality will require systemic change, from reforming tax policies to reimagining housing as a basic right rather than a commodity. Canada's welcoming immigration policies have added complexity to its housing and economic challenges. Between 2021 and 2024, over 1.5 million immigrants arrived in Canada, helping to fill workforce gaps and enrich the country's culture. However, this rapid population growth has placed immense pressure on public services and an already limited housing supply. Immigrants often settle in major cities like Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal, where housing is both scarce and expensive. Construction delays, restrictive zoning laws, and soaring material costs have created bottlenecks in housing availability. As demand far exceeds supply, property prices and rents continue to climb, leaving both newcomers and longtime residents struggling to find affordable homes. Public services, including healthcare and education, are straining under this growth. In Toronto, for example, wait times to see a family doctor have stretched to 6 months or more. Schools and transit systems are overwhelmed, with infrastructure failing to keep pace with population growth. International students, a vital part of Canada's economic engine due to the tuition they pay, often find themselves grappling with housing shortages and crowded living conditions. While policies like foreign buyer taxes and economic immigration programs aim to address these challenges, critics argue they don't go far enough. Comprehensive planning and investment in infrastructure are crucial to balance population growth with the resources needed to support it. Without these measures, Canada risks deepening inequality and overburdening its already strained systems. Mental health and housing instability are deeply interconnected in Canada. It's estimated that 60% of individuals experiencing homelessness also live with mental health conditions or substance use disorders. Poverty and housing inequality exacerbate these challenges, creating a cycle that is difficult to escape. Despite Canada's universal healthcare system, access to mental health care remains a significant barrier. Wealth professionals reported that a 2023 study found that 34% of Canadians with mental health conditions delayed or avoided treatment due to financial constraints. In rural areas, the problem is even worse, with wait times for publicly funded counseling exceeding 6 months in some provinces. Innovative solutions are emerging. Online platforms like Wellness Together Canada provide free counseling and crisis support, bridging some of the gaps in traditional mental health services. Housing First models, which prioritize providing stable housing alongside mental health care, have proven successful. Edmonton's Housing First program has housed over 9,000 individuals since 2009, helping them regain stability and improve their well-being. Personal stories illustrate the power of these programs. Emily, a 32-year-old mother from Toronto, battled depression and addiction after losing her job during the pandemic. Without access to affordable therapy, she relied on a community support group to rebuild her life. Her story underscores the importance of accessible mental health care as part of the solution to homelessness and poverty. Despite the grim outlook, innovative approaches offer a path forward for Canada's housing and poverty crises. One such solution is community land trusts, which separate land ownership from housing ownership. This model allows residents to lease land while owning their homes, ensuring long-term affordability and preventing speculative investments that drive up prices. As highlighted by BC Gov News, eco-friendly modular housing has also gained traction. Burnaby, British Columbia, piloted a modular housing project in 2023 that provided shelter to over 500 residents. These homes are quick to build, cost-effective, and sustainable, making them a promising solution for cities grappling with housing shortages. Co-housing models, which emphasize shared living spaces and community collaboration, are another emerging trend. These arrangements reduce housing costs while fostering stronger social connections. Combined with energy-efficient development projects, they offer a sustainable approach to addressing both housing affordability and environmental challenges. However, implementing these solutions isn't without obstacles. Bureaucratic delays, inconsistent policy enforcement, and limited funding have stalled progress in many regions. Toronto, for example, has ambitious plans for affordable housing, but projects often face setbacks due to financial and administrative hurdles. While challenges remain, these innovative strategies show that change is possible. With political will, community engagement, and bold investment, Canada can create a future where housing is accessible and affordable for everyone. Canada's journey from an affordable haven to a nation grappling with poverty, homelessness, and skyrocketing rents highlights the urgent need for systemic change. These issues are not isolated. They're deeply interconnected, affecting millions of lives and reshaping the nation's identity. But amidst the challenges, there is hope. Innovative solutions like modular housing, community land trusts, and co-housing models demonstrate that a better future is achievable. These approaches prove that with bold policies and collective action, we can tackle housing instability and poverty head-on. And now for the bonus information we promised. Despite the struggles faced by many regions, Utah in the United States is thriving. With its strong economy, low unemployment, and innovative housing policies, Utah stands as a shining example of what's possible when affordability and opportunity align. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out our next video, Why Leaving Canada is Impossible for Many, to explore where opportunities are taking people next. Stay informed and stay hopeful.